Subscribe to the channel! Click the button and subscribe now. Don't miss out, subscribe today!
You've been running for months, maybe a year, and you're still hitting the same wall, the same pace, the same feeling that your lungs are about to explode to miles in. You stretch more, you bought better shoes, you even started eating cleaner, and yet nothing changed. Be honest with yourself. Why do you think that is? If you've been following this series, you already know you're not running slow because of weak legs or bad genetics. You're running slow because of something specific, something measurable, and something you've been completely ignoring. Today, we're talking about VO2 max, and no, I'm not going to bury you in textbook definitions. I'm going to tell you exactly what it is, why yours is probably lower than it could be, and how to actually improve it without destroying yourself in the process. Stick around, because this one changes things. If you've been with me since the beginning of this series, you've already fixed your pacing mistakes. You've started building your aerobic base, and you've stopped doing the dumb things that were quietly wrecking your recovery. You've earned some real progress. But here's the next layer, and this is where most runners get stuck forever. You can be consistent, disciplined, even passionate about running, and still plateau completely if you're not training your body's engine. VO2 max is that engine, and the way most recreational runners try to improve it is just wrong. Drop a comment below. Have you ever actually trained specifically for VO2 max, or did you just run harder and hope for the best? Let's do a reality check. Your VO2 max is basically the maximum amount of oxygen your body can use when you're working at full capacity. Think of it as your cardiovascular ceiling, the highest floor your fitness can reach. The higher it is, the faster and longer you can run before your body starts falling apart. Simple, right? Here's where it gets uncomfortable. Most runners try to raise their VO2 max the same way. They just run harder. More miles at a suffocating pace. More tempo runs. More gut punch workouts every single week. And they wonder why they're exhausted, injured, and still not improving. Stop. That's not how this works. Training your VO2 max isn't about suffering more. It's about stressing the right system, at the right intensity, for the right amount of time. The problem is that nobody wants to hear that, because it's not dramatic. It's not a grinding montage, it's science. Here's what actually happens when you do too much hard running. Your body gets broken down faster than it can rebuild. Your nervous system gets fried. Your easy runs become medium runs. Your medium runs become death marches, and suddenly, your whole week is one long blur of moderate suffering. And here's the brutal irony, that moderate suffering, it's the exact intensity that does the least for your VO2 max. You're working too hard to recover, and not hard enough to actually trigger the adaptation you need. Think about that. You're in the worst possible zone. Not easy enough to recover, not hard enough to grow. You've been grinding in circles and calling it training. Now let me guess what you're telling yourself. I don't have time to train smarter. I can barely fit in my runs as it is. Okay, fair. But here's the thing. Improving your VO2 max doesn't require more time. It actually requires less time at higher quality. We're talking about workouts that are 20 to 30 minutes of actual running. That's it. The idea that you need to run for an hour or more to improve your fitness ceiling is one of the most persistent lies in recreational running culture. It feels productive to run long. It feels like you're earning something. But feelings aren't adaptations. But I'm not fast enough to do VO2 max intervals. I've heard this one so many times. Here's the thing. VO2 max training has nothing to do with how fast you are compared to someone else. It's about running at your limit, not theirs. Your 5K race pace is roughly your VO2 max pace. If you can run a 5K, you can do VO2 max work. End of story. I already run hard 3 times a week, so I'm probably already doing this. Probably not. Running hard and running at the specific intensity that challenges your VO2 max are two completely different things. Most people run at a vague, uncomfortable pace they call hard, which is actually just somewhere in the middle, too fast to be easy, too slow to do anything special. It's the fitness equivalent of spinning your wheels. Here's what actually works. And I want you to listen carefully, because this is the part that gets glossed over in every generic running article you've ever read. VO2 max training is built around intervals, short, controlled efforts at your 5K race pace or just slightly faster, with real recovery in between. Not a jog, that's still kind of hard, actual recovery. Here's a real starting point. 4 to 6 repeats of 3 minutes hard, with 3 minutes of easy. Jogging, or walking in between. That's your workout. It sounds almost too simple, and that's exactly why people dismiss it. But those 3 minutes at race effort, that's where your body learns to pull in more oxygen, pump more blood, and hold a higher output before it shuts down. That's the actual stimulus. The recovery is not the rest period. The recovery is what makes the next hard effort possible, and that's the whole point. You need to hit that intensity again and again within the same workout. If you're dying by the third repeat and shuffling through the fourth, your recovery wasn't long enough or your pace was too aggressive. Dial it back. The goal isn't to feel wrecked. The goal is to feel challenged, controlled, and consistent across all your repeats. One more thing about this that nobody talks about enough. Frequency matters more than intensity beyond a certain point. 1 VO2 max session per week, done properly, consistently, for 8 to 12 weeks, will change your fitness in ways that 3 random hard workouts per week never will. Consistency beats heroics. Every single time. Now me Diga, are you actually doing 1 quality workout per week with full intention? Or are you just running 5 days and calling it training because you're tired afterward? Here's the part where we zoom out for a second. Because if you've been with me since episode 1, I want you to actually feel this. You've come a long way. You stopped going out too fast in the first kilometer. You started protecting your easy days. You learned what building an aerobic base actually means. And now you're here talking about the mechanism that determines your ceiling as a runner. This is no longer beginner territory. You're asking the right questions now. The runners who actually improve year after year aren't the ones who train the hardest. They're the ones who train the most intelligently, who understand what each session is supposed to do, and who don't confuse busyness with progress. You know which runner you want to be. So here's the one thing I want you to walk away with today. VO2 max is trainable. It responds to the right stimulus the same way a muscle responds to progressive resistance. But you have to give it the right signal, specific, intentional, and repeated over time. If you've been running hard and getting nowhere, it's not because you're not trying hard enough, it's because you've been giving your body the wrong message. Now you know what the right message looks like. Go send it. But here's what I need you to prepare for, because next time we're going somewhere that most runners never even think about. We're talking about Kenenisa Bekele, the man who set world records in the 5001 OK, that stood for over a decade. The man whose training methods were so specific, so precisely calibrated, that coaches still study them today, trying to reverse engineer what he did. And more importantly, we're going to look at how you, a recreational runner training between work shifts and family responsibilities, can take the actual principles from his training and apply them to your life. Not the fantasy version. The real, practical, adapted version that will push your running to a place you didn't think you could reach. That episode is going to be something different. You do not want to skip it. If this series has been helping you think differently about running, subscribe. We're building something here, episode by episode, and the best parts are still ahead. Next episode drops soon, and I genuinely think it's going to be one of the most useful things you've watched as a runner. And before you go, I want to know, what's your biggest frustration with your current training? Drop it in the comments. Let's figure it out together.